3 Ram engines, 200,000 miles each. The winner isn't the one with the most miles on it. I'm Buck. 12 years a Mopar dealer tech, all 3 torn down on my bench. Let's settle it. These are the 3 engines that built the Ram name. The 5.9 Magnum that carried the trucks through the 90s. The 5.7 HEMI that's under most of your hoods right now. And the Cummins 5.9 diesel that turned into a legend all its own. I've had every one of them torn down to the block on my bench, not read about them, not watched a video about them, taken them apart with my own hands and laid the guts out on the table to see what 200,000 miles and more actually does to them. And when I say torn down, I mean all the way. Heads off, pan off, pistons out, mains in my hand under a light. I mic the bearings, I measure the bore for taper and out of round, I check the crank journals against spec, I read the cam lobes for lift loss. Numbers, not opinions. Here's something most owners never think about too. An engine doesn't die all at once. It dies in the places that wear fastest, and those places are different. On one it's the bottom end, on another it's the valvetrain, on a third it's nothing at all for 500,000 miles. Tearing these 3 down side by side shows you exactly where each one lets go, and that tells you which one's worth keeping. Let me tell you the criterion up front, because it decides everything. If the question were which one runs the most miles, this would be the most boring video. The Cummins wins that. Everybody knows it. 500,000 miles, sometimes more, end of discussion. That's not the question worth your time. The question I'm answering is which one is the best engine to own, to actually keep, to drive past 200,000 miles. For the regular guy with a gas truck who doesn't want a second mortgage every time something lets go. The most road for the fewest dollars with the least drama. Longevity, cost to keep it alive, and simplicity, all 3 together. Think about why that's the right question. Almost nobody reading the odometer at 200,000 is asking whether the engine could theoretically hit 500. They're asking whether it's going to strand them and what it'll cost to fix when it finally acts up. A motor that runs forever but bankrupts you at every repair isn't a winner in the real world. A motor that runs a long time and stays cheap to keep is. That's the lens, not the spec sheet, the checkbook, and the calendar. And the winner isn't the one you'd bet on. Same lesson as the transmissions, the simple cheap one beats the spectacular one on real-world survival. Let me show you why, starting with what these engines look like when the covers come off. Start with the 5.9 Magnum. When I pull one of these apart at 200, 250, even 300,000 miles, the thing that gets me every time is how tight the bottom end still is. I drop the pan, pull a main cap, and the bearings look like they've got another 200,000 left in them. Light, even wear across the shells. No scoring, no copper showing through, no spun bearing surprises. The crankshaft journals mic out within spec on engines that have been running since the Clinton administration. Pull a piston and look at the cylinder wall, and you'll often still see the cross hatch the original hone pattern the factory cut into the bore. On a worn-out engine, that cross hatch is gone, polished smooth, glazed over, and the rings are slapping around in a bore that's gone oval. On a high-mileage Magnum, more often than not, that hatch is still there. The rings still have tension. Compression numbers come back even across all 8 holes. The camshaft lobes show their wear, sure, but it's gentle, uniform, nothing dramatic. Mic the bore on a high-mileage Magnum, and the taper usually comes in under 3/1000ths, top to bottom tight enough that plenty of them don't even need an overbore, just a hone and a fresh set of rings. The main bearings come out, worn even edge to edge, the journals clean, no sign the oil ever stopped getting where it needed to go. The timing chain has some stretch, but a Magnum chain is an afternoon and cheap parts, not a teardown. The oil pump gear shows light wear and keeps right on pumping. Everywhere I look, the same story, slow, even forgiving wear, and none of it expensive to put right. Now, I told you the Magnum is forgiving, and it is, but I'm not going to sell you it because there's exactly one spot on these engines that bites. And after 20 years, I check it every single time before I'll say a word about one's health. The heads. The factory cast iron Magnum heads are famous for cracking between the valve seats. The seats are induction hardened, the casting runs a touch thin, and over enough heat cycles they fissure right there. I'd say close to half the high mileage cores I pull have at least one crack in them. But here's the part that matters, and it's the whole thesis of this video. That crack almost always stays in the seat area and never reaches the water jacket, so the truck keeps running like nothing's wrong. A lot of owners drive them cracked for years and never know. And when you do address it, you don't rebuild a thing. You unbolt the originals and bolt on a set of aftermarket Engine Quest heads thicker exactly where the factory castings split, with pressed hardened seats that end the problem for good. A few $100s a pair bare, a bit more fully assembled, an afternoon on the truck. That is the Magnum's worst case scenario. Set that next to a Hemi's $8,000 to $12,000 Valley, or a Cummins fuel system, and you see it plain. Even this engine's one real flaw is cheap to make permanent. Why does it look that way? Because this engine never worked hard a day in its life. Cast iron block, cast iron heads, iron everywhere it matters. Low compression, low RPM, a pushrod design with nothing exotic spinning fast enough to wear itself out. The Magnum loafs. It makes its power down low and never revs high enough to stress the rotating assembly. Iron doesn't flex, doesn't warp, doesn't fatigue the way lighter materials do. The whole thing is overbuilt for what it actually does. I had one come into my shop a couple years back, 98 model, 270,000 miles, came in for a leak the owner thought was a rear main. Turned out to be a valve cover gasket and an oil pan gasket, cheap fix. But while I had the intake off, I got curious and pulled ahead to check the bottom end, since the owner was asking whether the engine had life left in it. I want to be honest, there's a known gasket weak spot on these under the intake, and yeah, I freshened that while I was in there. But that's a $30 part and an afternoon, not an engine problem. The bores still had hatch. The bearings were clean. I told him that engine would outlive the truck wrapped around it, and I meant it. That's the Magnum on the bench. A rebuild, the rare time one actually needs it, runs $2,500 to $3,500. The parts are dirt cheap and on every shelf in the country. There isn't a shop in America that's scared of one. The dealer never made a dime off these engines breaking, which is exactly why you never heard a salesman bragging about how long a Magnum lasts. On the bench, it's the engine that gives me the least to talk about. And in this business, the engine that gives a mechanic nothing to talk about is the one you want in your driveway. If this is the kind of straight talk you want more of, hit subscribe and drop a comment below telling me the most miles you've ever put on a Ram engine. I read every one. Now the 5.7 Hemi. Here's where the teardown story splits in two, and it splits harder than any engine I work on. Because there's no single answer for what a Hemi looks like at 200,000 miles. There are two completely different engines depending on who owned it and how they treated it. Pull apart a Hemi that was maintained right on one of the good years, and the bottom end is genuinely solid. The mains look good, the rod bearings show honest, even wear. The crank is in spec. The bores hold up well. These aren't fragile engines down low. The block is a good casting, and the rotating assembly takes the miles. If all I looked at was the bottom half, I'd tell you the Hemi is nearly as tough as the Magnum. And I'll tell you what separates the clean ones from the destroyed ones on my bench. Because it isn't subtle. It's rarely the casting, and it's not really the model year. It's the oil. Every wiped Hemi I've opened up wears the same fingerprint varnish in the valley, sludge, and oil that was either too thin or too old to hold a film on those rollers. Every clean one shows the opposite. The block doesn't decide a Hemi's fate. The bottle the owner poured in does. But the story on a Hemi is never in the bottom end. It's up top, in the lifter valley, every single time. That's the first place I go when one of these hit, because that's where the engine tells you whether it was loved or neglected. On a Hemi that got clean oil on time and the right viscosity, the lifter rollers still spin free. The contact faces are smooth. The cam lobes underneath them are sharp and intact. On a neglected one, stretched oil changes, the wrong thin oil. The owner trusting that dashboard light instead of a calendar, I find rollers that are pitted and flat-spotted and lobes that are gouged right down into the cam. Once I see metal in the valley, I know the rest of the engine's been eating that debris for a while. Let me show you exactly what that failure looks like, because the roller rides on the cam, and when the oil film thins out, the needle bearings inside it start to break down. The roller stops rolling and starts skidding. Once it skids, it flat spots, and a flat-spotted roller grinds the lobe under it down into the steel. I'll pull a lobe that's lost 50 thousandths of lift ground right down where a healthy one stands proud. And every bit of that metal went somewhere, through the pump, through the galleries, into the bearings. That's why a wiped top end is almost never just a top end by the time it reaches me. I measure both with the same tools, and it's night and day. Two trucks off the same line, same part numbers stamped in the castings, and they end up in two different worlds, one good for another 100,000. One good for the scrap bin. Nothing wrote that difference but the hands that maintained it. Had a HEMI in last year, 202,000 miles, came in knocking. Owner had bought it used and had no records. Tore into it and the top end was wiped cam and lifters destroyed, debris through the oil galleries. Bottom end was actually still decent, which is the cruel part. If somebody had done the cheap, simple maintenance, that engine had hundreds of thousands of miles left in the block. Instead, he was looking at the full number 8 to 12,000 to do it right. That's the HEMI in a sentence. The most capable, most modern, most powerful of the three by a mile. But it charges you a discipline tax that the Magnum never asks for. Treat it right, and it's cheap to keep and runs forever. Neglect it, and the bill is brutal. Now the Cummins. Let me say the obvious thing first, so nobody thinks I'm shortchanging it on raw miles. This engine is the king, and it isn't close. When I tear down a Cummins at 300, 400, even 500,000 miles, the bottom end is barely touched. Forged crank that looks like it could go another 500,000, connecting rods you could hang a truck off of. Cylinder walls thick enough that the bore wear at 400,000 is less than what I see on a gas engine at 150. Bearings still in spec at mileage that would scrap any gas motor twice over. This engine flat refuses to wear out. It was built for commercial duty and dropped into a pickup, and it shows every time I open one up. Had a Cummins on the bench high 300,000s, original bottom end, never been apart. The owner was in for work behind the engine, not the engine itself, because the engine was fine. Mains, rods, crank, bores, all of it still healthy. That's normal for these. That's just what they do. I've measured cylinder bore wear on a 400,000-mile Cummins at under 2/1000ths less taper than a gas engine shows at a third of that mileage. The crank journals come up in spec with a micrometer, not close enough, actually in spec. The rod bearings look like honest highway miles, not abuse. It isn't magic, it's physics, and inline 6 is naturally balanced so it isn't shaking itself apart. It lives at low RPM where wear is slow, and the walls are thick enough that the bore simply doesn't open up. Built to outlast the chassis, and on the bench it proves it every time. So why doesn't it win? Because the question isn't raw miles it's best to own, all in. And the Cummins comes with a tab the Magnum never hands you. The buy-in is steep. A clean used one costs real money because everybody knows what the diesel maintenance is its own world. The fuel system, the injectors, the things hanging off this engine that a gas owner never thinks about all cost more to keep right. And the engine routinely outlives what's bolted behind it, so the money you save on the motor you spend keeping up with everything around it. For a guy who just wants a gas truck that lasts cheap, the Cummins is more engine, more complexity than the job calls for. I've watched Cummins owners spend more keeping the support systems alive than a gas owner spends on the whole truck. Injectors at a few hundred apiece, times 6. Lift pumps, fuel filters that cost real money, a fuel system that punishes you the day you run it low or buy bad diesel. The engine asks for nothing, everything bolted to it. That's not a knock on the motor. It's the honest math of owning one when all you needed was a truck that starts every morning and hauls what's in the bed. Line all three up on the bench in your head. The Cummins bottom end at 400,000 looks better than the Hemis at 200 and better than the Magnums at 300. The diesel wins the teardown on raw condition. No argument. But the Hemi at 200 is a coin flip, brilliant or destroyed on one owner's habits. And the Magnum at 300 is quietly, boringly healthy almost every time for a fraction of what the other two cost to buy or to fix. Condition isn't the whole story. Cost and certainty are. So here's the verdict, straight with the reasons. The clear winner best engine to own to high mileage for the regular gas truck guy is the 5.9 Magnum. And I'll be honest about what it loses, because that's what makes the win mean something. If your question is raw miles, the Cummins wins. No argument. 500,000 and nobody's close. If your question is power and modern capability, the Hemi takes it. Easily. The Magnum is the weakest of the three, and it makes the fewest miles of the bunch. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But on the criterion that actually matters for keeping a truck the most road, for the fewest hours, with the least drama, the Magnum takes everything. It hits 300,000 miles as a matter of routine, not as a miracle. Its rebuild costs half what a Hemi's. It doesn't charge the Hemi's discipline tax, neglect it a little, and it forgives you, because iron is forgiving. And it doesn't carry the Cummins buy-in or its diesel upkeep. It's not the strongest, it doesn't make the most miles, and it's the furthest thing from the newest. It's just the best one to own. The winner you wouldn't have bet on, same as the transmissions. Simple and cheap beats spectacular on real survival. So here's your buyer's guide. If you want maximum miles and the diesel cost and complexity don't scare you, buy the Cummins, it'll outlast you. If you already own a Hemi, you've got a great engine, just respect it and it'll go the distance. But if what you want is cheap longevity, no drama, on gasoline, it's the Magnum. Every single time. And if you're shopping right now, that's the quiet advantage nobody talks about. A clean Magnum truck is the cheapest entry into a 300,000-mile engine you'll ever find, half the money of a Cummins, none of the Hemi's lifter lottery. The market overlooks them because they're old and slow and unglamorous. Let it. That's exactly why they're the smart buy. Whatever's under your hood, the one habit that decides everything is the oil change interval 5,000 miles, no excuses, and a bottom end you tear down at 300,000 will thank you. Next week I'm covering the 3 Ram engines I'd never let a customer buy, the ones that roll into my shop already dying. Subscribe so you don't miss it. That's it from the shop.